I go, hey, I got some good news and some bad news for you. I said, hey, the good news is we know who killed Michelle Helfer. I go, the bad news is it's you.
Brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
You're listening to the Black and Blue Podcast, a discussion and celebration of the roles of African Americans and other minorities in U.S. law enforcement. Your host on the Black and Blue Podcast is Dale Peters, a law enforcement professional with over 20 years experience in the business. Hop on board this Black and Blue train of interviews, current events, and pop culture conversations. So get ready. The Black and Blue Podcast is coming at you right now. What up, fam? Welcome to the latest episode of the Black and Blue Podcast, where we celebrate diversity in U.S. law enforcement. My name is Dale. I'm the host. Thank you for joining me. I love and appreciate the support you've shown me and this show. If you want to continue supporting the show, please like and subscribe to the Black and Blue Podcast YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps me and the channel out a whole lot, so make sure you click on that bell icon on the YouTube channel so you can get notified of any new content. And check out the Black and Blue Podcast social media pages. You can find us everywhere at Black and Blue US. Now, today's guest is a supervisory investigator for the San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office out here in California. Everyone, please give a warm Black and Blue welcome to Maurice Landrum. How you doing, brother?
Hey, how you doing, Dale?
Excellent, excellent. I'm glad you can make it.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So what's going on with you out there? You out here in San Bernardino County, right?
That's correct.
All right. Yeah, that's where I stay. So, tell everybody about San Bernardino County, how large it is, and what you do for them.
Well, out of the 58 counties in California, San Bernardino County is the largest county, as you know. Um, I work for the San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office as a supervising district attorney investigator. I'm the first black African American supervisor investigator that was promoted in their history. Been charged of real estate fraud, workers' comp, HIV, search warrant unit, and trial prep. So I've had those four different units there as a supervisor out here with the San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office.
Okay. All right. What
Yeah.
does a district attorney's investigator do for the people out there that don't know?
Okay, so you can look at us as we're peace officers. So we're 830.1. So for the people out there who don't understand our penal code section, we're same as the police officers, Redland Police Department, Fontana, San Bernardino County, LAPD. We still have peace officer powers in that respect. What we do is a different type of uh, law enforcement activity. We help prepare and organize cases for the district attorney's office, and then we have a self-investigative unit, which like real estate fraud, for instance, that we do our own investigations, and then now they have a shooting team, a call-out team. But what we do is we put cases together, find witnesses. We serve search warrants, we serve arrest warrants, we do extraditions. So we do a lot of different things, surveillances, witness protection, dignitary protection. So we do a lot of things that your normal police department would do, but we do it for the district attorney, in the sake of the prosecutors.
All right. So in that capacity, are the DAs kind of like your bosses, or do you guys have a different chain of command, or how's that work?
Okay, so we have a different chain of command within the district attorney's office, but ultimately we answer to the district attorney. So we have what's known as a chief investigator, and so that's through the Bureau of Investigation. So I'm under B of I, Bureau of Investigations, and so we have
Gotcha.
our rank and command staff there, and we're depending on what unit you're working with, you're assigned a different deputy district attorneys, and there's a supervising uh, district attorney and a chief investigator district attorney.
Okay, I got you. Got you. How long you been there?
I've been there for 12 and a half years.
Okay, 12 and a half years. And what'd you do before
Yeah.
you were there?
Before I was there, I started my law enforcement career with the Los Angeles Police Department. So I started that in May of 1983, and
Oh,
so I
wow.
retired October. Yeah, I retired October 2004 for a weekend, and then I was hired at the San Bernardino District Attorney's Office. I was sworn in that Monday, so I had a whole 2 days to be retired.
Man, you couldn't give it up, huh?
I tried. The wife made me go back to work because she likes shopping. It's
Right. No,
crazy.
tell me about it. Tell me about it. Mine is saying I got 4 more years with my department, and my wife is like, you better figure out something to do because we can't have you just spending our money, you know, when you retire. Because
Yeah.
she's not in law enforcement, so she can't retire early. So she's still going to be working. So it's a little different.
Oh, you'll be doing things. I have
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
a PI license as well. So,
Oh,
oh
okay.
yeah.
Nice, nice. Well, hopefully I'll be doing this show. That's what I plan to be doing. But, you know, I
Oh,
digress.
I think you'll be doing that full time. You
Yeah,
hit your mark
yeah.
here
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So, you were at LAPD for how long? That was 20 something years, right?
for yeah 21 and a half years. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And what'd
Yeah.
you do over there?
Well, I did it all. I did everything under the sun there. So I started out at the academy. I started in patrol and probation. I started at Harbor Division. When I got off of probation as a probationary officer, I went to Pacific Division, which is in West Bureau. I went on a loan. The West Bureau crashed there. Worked the gang unit there. And then I came in the South Bureau, went to Southwest. And in Southwest, I worked a variety of different assignments, everything from the hype car, so heroin addicts, to special problems unit to gangs. And just, at work vice. So I did a variety of things there. Then I went to as a detective trainee from there. Worked all the different tables, robbery, burglary, crimes against persons, theft of motor vehicles, and then I graduated and went to homicide. So I went to South Bureau Homicide, and that's where I kind of hung my hat for a couple of years. I made detective there. While I was there, I ended up promoting out of homicide to a sergeant. Went out to Northeast Division, which is Central Bureau. Worked that for a spell. Reverted back to detective. Came back into homicide to work FBI task force. Worked that for a while. Went back out as a sergeant because my wife was a deputy sheriff for LA County. She was assigned to Carson Station. So I went to Harbor Division, where it's close. I wanted to be kind of close in case something happened there. Then I eventually went back to Northeast one more time as a sergeant. Transferred again to Southeast as a crash sergeant, a gang sergeant. I worked that for a while. Then I became the patrol adjutant, and then I became the OIC of IA there, and finally promoted out of there to South Traffic Division, where I worked until I retired.
Wow, you did it all over there. It seems like.
Oh, I had a great career there at LAPD.
All right, and then like we said, after
Yeah,
you hung it up, you couldn't stay retired. You kind of moved out this way and went to the DA's office over here and did a lot of good things over there as well. So, or doing a lot of good things over there as well. So I appreciate you for your service and everything you've done in both departments, both agencies. Good stuff.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you said your wife was with the LASO, LA Sheriff's Department. That's kind of a big rivalry between LAPD and LASL. How'd you guys work that out over the years? That's kind of like a Crips and Bloods or UCLA USC type of rivalry there.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a little real talk. I actually met her before she was a deputy sheriff. I met her when I was in patrol at Southwest Division, and she was with her mother by the YMCA in Santa Rosalia and Malton. So I met her, got a phone number, and we just started dating. And so we got married, and then when when our son was born, 10 months later, she was in the sheriff's academy. So she put us up to the sheriff's academy, and so that's how that spawned. But I we had a good time, and obviously it's like night and day with the LA County Sheriff's Department and LAPD because
Oh yeah.
they have their way of doing things and we have our way of doing things. So I was teaching her some of the LAPD way, and she would go to the academy and say, "Hey, we don't write reports like that. We don't write in third person, blah blah blah." So she got jammed one day. She said, "You can't help me with that kind of stuff because they jammed." I
Yeah.
said, "All right." But it worked out fine. So, but
Yeah.
one thing that's universal with your agency and LAPD and DA's office is tactics is universal. And I'm a big
Right.
tactician. I'm really big on tactics and stuff. So I taught her all the nuts and bolts for officer safety and and how to shoot and those things that you need out in the field.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Is she still working, or is she done?
No, she's retired. Yeah, she had
Okay.
a disability pension.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
she's yeah.
But I was gonna say she's done. She's not like you, where couldn't give it up and went back to work. So yeah, but she was done for medical. All right. Well, thank you for her
Yeah.
service as well. You can tell her I said thank you for her service as well. Appreciate that.
I'll pass that. I'll pass that off if I can get her off out of the store off of Amazon. Yeah.
You better watch it. She gonna watch this and hear what you saying there. So
Oh yeah.
you,
She
you,
probably
you,
will.
yeah, I know she will. I know she will. So
Oh
you,
yeah.
you mentioned that you guys had a kid. Was you guys just have the one, or how many kids did you guys have?
No, we have three adult children. So our daughter's the
Oh,
oldest, and I have two sons. So my daughter's 39. I have a son 32 and a son 28, and
any
four
of them?
grandkids.
All right, congratulations, Pop Pop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, any of them get into law enforcement?
No, well, I have one son that's he's a counselor for Cal State San Bernardino. My other son is a security officer at Casa Colina, and my daughter works for AAA.
Okay,
So
so
yeah.
nobody wanted to follow in mom or dad's footsteps here. Well, thinking about today's climate, that may or may
Oh
not be
yeah.
a good thing. Yeah,
Well, I think when you look at today's climate and things have changed, like I'll give you some quick examples. When I came on in 1983, there was a public cry for law and order. And so the citizens were very supportive of LAPD because we had a major gang problem and we had a major PCP problem in narcotics. So back then, they really appreciated us coming to the neighborhood, cleaning it up, arresting gang members, and doing those things. Now, with the pendulum change, now we have these body worn cameras. You have a lot of different groups, the Black Lives Matter groups. You have Antifa, you have a lot of anti-police groups out there, and then there's a lot more accountability, which I agree with. I have no problem with accountability, but you have a lot more accountability now, and there's just a gamut of things, and then they want to defund the police, but they don't really understand the process because if you're taking resources away from the police department, it makes the community unsafe, and that's where we're at right now.
right. Definitely. Yeah. And a lot of these things that are going on, that affect the communities, they roll downhill and then they affect us in law enforcement as well. So it's kind of like like you said, the pendulum swinging one way. Hopefully, we think it'll swing back. It always does, swing back towards law and order. But until then, this is what we got. This is
Yeah,
what we stuck with.
yeah, I hope so. I mean, I could really talk about Los Angeles because I was there for 21 and a half years, and the stark
Yeah.
difference is they'll use hey, people are being racially profiled, which is not happening, but they'll say that, especially down in the South End, and then they're so then like right now it's very violent down there, even as we're speaking right now. Shootings are happening, so now
Yeah.
they want police presence down there. But before that, when Metropolitan Division was there, they wanted to pull them out because they thought they were targeting folks. So when you pull them out, the resources out, then the shootings increase because gang members aren't taking a break down there,
Right.
and there's just a lot of crime going on down there right now. And now the other thing that I noticed is they cut the school budget for Los Angeles Unified School District, and
Hmm.
that amazes me because they had officers actually on campus, which was a good thing because they have a lot of problems on those campuses and stuff, and that's why they had the police there. So these activists that were speaking, I don't even think they have children in the LA Unified School District system, but they think it's a good
Right.
idea to pull the police out. So it's
Right.
it's
Right.
wild right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's interesting that you say that. They don't even have kids in the LA Unified District, but yeah, they over there clamoring, saying that they need to remove the cops from the LA Unified. So, yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
that's just
yeah, what's your experience out here in San Bernardino County? Um, once you're out here, did you see a lot of the protest once all those jumped off last year in 2020 due to the George Floyd with Chauvin incident and Breonna Taylor and all those incidents out there? What sort of protests and experience did you have in that?
well, not really too much. They didn't really protest the district attorney's office, and they would have they would try to get together near Victoria Gardens. So at Day Creek and Foothill Boulevard, San Bernardino County sheriffs handled that pretty well. There would be some small gatherings, but they didn't let them go in and kind of vandalize the mall area or do any looting. So it was very mild out here, as far as I know. Now I don't know what happened in the cities of Fontana and Rialto, or Colton, but I can speak for Rancho because I'm assigned to Rancho. It's pretty mild, pretty meek here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So moving back to the district attorney's investigators office there, I know you mentioned real estate fraud, a bunch of other frauds, officer involved shootings. Is that one of the duties that your office handles as well?
Well, they just started a rollout team now. So, years ago they didn't do that. So now they have a rollout team. So when there's a shooting from a Alon agency here, they'll roll out and kind of stand by just to see, you know, get the facts, let the agency investigate, but kind of get the facts and see if there's any criminality there or
Right.
if it's justified. Yeah.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you. So what's the role in the DA's office in those investigations?
Well, basically the role is you're kind of there as a gatekeeper. You're just kind of watching the procedure, seeing if policies were followed. You're trying to see if there was anything that was out of the norm, or if there's some evidence or exculpatory evidence that's not being, brought to the forefront. You want to gather all those things, so videos, witnesses, you know, find out if the shooting is justified or what prompted the shooting. As far as a tactical thing, that's not for us to decide. That's going to be solely with the individual agency and your policies, rules, and procedures with regards to use of deadly force.
Right. Right. What's the relationship, or how are you guys received when you guys go in there and you kind of shadow these agencies and trying to see if everything was on the up and up? How are you guys received in those investigations?
Well, now I'm not on the team myself or roll out myself personally, but just feedback. I think they're being received pretty well because they're not. You're really not there to prosecute anybody. You're kind of just there to get the facts, just like we would do normally if we were at LAPD or Redlands or wherever we're at. You just want to get the facts, see what happened, how did it occur, and and just make sure that there was no malice or forethought on the part of the officers, and make sure that everything kind of lines up with what occurred.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you were the first African American that was promoted to your position. How large is your agency to begin with, the investigations portion of it?
Well, there's probably around 60 folks. That's including the chief investigator. Now there's one assistant chief and there's two commander positions. Now,
Hmm.
when I came on, it was the chief investigator. You had two assistant chiefs. You had an admin chief and an operations chief, and then you had supervising investigators. Then you had senior investigators and investigators. So that's how we were kind of organized at that point in time. Uh, and so I had applied for the position because I was a supervisor at LAPD, obviously, before I left, had my supervisory post. And so I applied for the position here, and it was kind of interesting because it was a good old boy system out here, and
Yeah.
it was very thick during my time. It was very thick from Rialto, and what they did there is there was an assistant chief there. He just took care of his folks, so uh, a lot of them didn't even have prior supervisory experience, and they promoted them. And you can tell the difference with the people that promoted that didn't have any leadership skills because you could see they were very overbearing and kind of autocratic, so they didn't let their people develop or have help them reach autonomy during that time, and that was kind of interesting. So I remember I took an oral, and I didn't get it the first time, but there was a lot of shenanigans going on. Took it a second time, I didn't get it, and so I decided to write some paper to kind of make them aware of what's going on. So I
Mm.
filed some paperwork with the five county supervisors. I also at the time Mike Rollins was the DA. I also gave him a copy of what was going on, and our chief investigator at the time was Mike Smith, because the way they were doing the way that I was used to oral interviews going is an outside agency would come in and sit on your panel, so you would have a clean panel, and then you would take the cream would rise to the top just based on your education, your skills and abilities and your knowledge
Right. Right.
to do the job. But this was just a good old boy system back then, and it was like the assistant chief was sitting on a board, and it was his folks that were there, and so they were kind of choosing. So I remember when I finally got promoted, it was kind of interesting. This, they did the orals, and I think they were. I don't know if they were hesitant. I don't know if they thought I was going to be militant when I got promoted. I'd already supervised supervisors, so I mean,
Right.
I'm squared away. So I remember getting in. I remember at the time it was Barnes was our assistant chief, and he pulled me into the office with the chief. He goes, "Hey Mo, we're promoting you, and I just want to let you know that this is not an automatic thing. You're gonna be on probation, and so if something happens, then you could get demoted." So I just kind of
Wow.
file that, yeah, well, I filed that in the back of my head because I know that I'm good at what I do, and I knew
Yeah.
I've been a supervisor. I was
Yeah.
supervisor for
And
10 years
they
before. Yeah.
yeah they didn't do that talk with all the other people they ever promoted, right? Do they?
Oh no,
Right.
not at all. So I
Exactly.
remember not, yeah, so I think I was there. I was probably in that my position about 2 months. And obviously, they start giving me IAs to handle and admin. But I'm built for that because that's what I did. So they would give me
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff. Then they finally called me in the office one day and he goes, "You know what, Mo? We were just talking, I was talking to the chief. You're the best promotion that we've made since we've been here." And I just kind of smirked because I knew. And
Yeah.
it was interesting because all my folks, because leadership is about taking care of your folks, making sure that you mentor them, get them what they need, and you got to be a good listener because if you're talking and that's crazy. So I tell people, I give my expectations. I give them a list of what my expectations were. That tell them basically, hey, you follow the rules, treat people with respect, and if you need something, let me know. Don't lie to me, and we'll take care of business. So the DA's office back then was it was kind of like several micromanagers. So and you can tell the guys that weren't supervisors because they like if their guys said, "Hey, we want to go out to LA County to look for a guy," they would get all tensed up. Well, when I became supervisor, my guys wanted to roll. I mean, you're adults. We give you a gun, we give you a badge, we give you a take-home car, and we give you authority to go out there and do your job. And
Yep.
we have to give you trust. And so my guys, they said we need to go out to the valley to go do something. Go, you know, they'll check in with me 2 hours. Hey, we're still out there, no problem. And they always took care of business because my biggest thing was don't don't let me get a call from the chief's office saying, "Hey, so and so was out here in Orange County and they got in a shooting. Did you know about that?" Because
Right.
I don't want to be the last to know. So as long as we have accountability and you're being straight up with people, that's good. And then like when they have a dress code, so they have summer dress where you can dress down. You have to wear shirt and tie. So a lot of times though, as you know, you can't. Sometimes you get a one pass in the neighborhood, and if you're in a shirt and tie, they're gonna know you're the
Mm-hmm.
police. So
Yep.
a lot of times where my folks would call and say, "Hey, well, I'll say we're gonna be going so and so. Is it okay if I dress down dirty today?" Which means just some Levi's. I go, "Sure, man, no problem." So
There
for
you
me,
go.
is because I know what they're doing, and I've done undercover work, so I get it. But But some supervisors, they want their guys to be, suited and booted and shirts and ties, and
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
you can't do surveillance like that because people pass by one time, that's the police, and
Oh
they
yeah,
know right away,
they know, they know
Yeah,
right away. I mean, all the other things are already gonna give you away, and then so at least try to even the playing field just a little bit, just a little bit.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
because you get one shot at some of these things sometimes.
right, no
Yep.
doubt, no doubt. So you said that was back when back in the day a little bit, back then. Has a number of other African Americans or other minorities come through the office since you've been there?
Yes, in fact, I helped get them there, believe it or not. So we have,
Okay.
you have Derek Ford's there. We have Eric Miller. Eric Miller, he's a commander now. He made commander. But all these guys are coming after me. There's a Kevin Daku that's there. He was with the CHP for 30 years. He came when we were hiring part-time investigators. And I remember he had retired as a sergeant, and so he's working part-time here. So they were getting rid of the part-timers, but they were going to bring on the part-timers full-time. And so they said, hey, you just got to have your intermediate and advanced post. So he's like, hey, no problem, because he was a supervisor. Well, during his tenure with the CHP, he thought that the CHP automatically put in for your post certificates, and they didn't.
Oh,
But he
oh,
but he thought that. So when he got ready to apply, he just had a basic. And so they were like, and so the assistant chief at that time was a guy by the name of Frank Pavero. So he went up to Frank. I think Pavero's son works for Redlands PD or something. But at the time anyway, he went up to Frank and he asked him. He goes, "Hey, I got this issue," and Frank just kind of shooed him away. He's like, that's too bad for you. So he came to see me. So he showed me what I said. Say, you know what, man? I says you need to be talking to the chief. I go, the
mm-hmm.
chief likes you and stuff. They can contact Post. All you gotta do is work a 40-hour work week, man, and then they can just show that you're working full time, and they can get your post certificates to you. So I was him, and I wrote a memo for him. Addressed it, laid it
Yeah,
all out. He sent it to the chief. The chief got it. They let him work for a whole week, and he got his intermediate, advanced, and supervisory post, and he's still there today.
there you
So
go.
that was good. He works workers' comp. So you have to take care of people.
Yeah, no doubt. Now,
Yeah.
does this agency? Do you find yourself with a lot of retirees or people that work previous agencies? Do you get trainees? Straight boots in. What sort of personnel do you
No.
guys get?
So the DA's office hires strictly experienced law enforcement officers, and that's you. So in other words, you'll come from another agency, and then you're you know you're a, you migrate into the DA's office and stuff, and that's how it starts. So everybody that I've worked with, nobody's come straight just from the DA's office. They've come from outside agencies. So it's interesting. I've had folks from Whittier, Long Beach, um, Santa Ana, Fullerton, Orange County DA. Uh, we have people from South Lake Tahoe, just kind of like all over, Contra Costa. So there's just so we're kind of like just a mixed group, and then obviously you have folks from the sheriff's departments out here, Redlands PD, uh, Colton,
S- San
Montana,
Bernardino, I'm sure.
San Bernardino. So yeah, Kevin
Yeah,
Ford came from San Bernardino PD. So yeah, so you just get a mixture of folks, Banning PD, Beaumont. So it's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
So
and then
so it's probably one of the best kept jobs in the county. A lot of people don't know you get a take home car, you got weekends off, so you're not
right.
getting call outs, and it's pretty low key. I
Unless
mean, I
unless you're on that rollout team and something happens on the weekend, then you get a call
yeah,
out.
yeah,
Then you get a
yeah. Now
call out.
I worked homicide for years with LAPD, so I I'm done with call outs. I remember, but I used to. There was a time when Um, and my wife would get mad because I'd be on call at LA PD, but the phone would be on her side of the bed. I'd be sleeping like a baby, and the phone rang,
Right.
and she goes, "For you." And I would always wake up with a pen and pad by, "Yeah, how you doing? Did you go sleep?" "Oh, yeah, I've been sleep, man. How you doing?
Yep.
Where we got to roll to it? Just go out." But yeah, but
Yeah,
I used to
yeah.
call that.
I worked a few details where we were always on call, and man, I would dread, just like you said, sleeping like a baby, and 3 o'clock in the morning, and that cell phone goes off, and hey babe, I got to roll. So it is what it is. This is what we do. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was fun, but it gets old after a while. I can see where you're talking about there. It gets old after a while.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
I think homicide is very unique in itself because that's the ultimate crime you can commit. And
yes,
so, you turn over every stone, you exhaust every resource for that. And I really, although it was a sad occasion because we're rolling out to someone who's died, I enjoyed
right,
working that because it was like the body was evidence. It's telling you what happened to it, and you start from that scratch right there, and then you work out and you build your case and you get your suspect or suspects.
yeah.
So it was good. So I worked that really really well. I enjoyed that.
What brought you out to San Bernardino County from L.A.?
Uh, so I live out in San Bernardino County. I live in Rancho. I was just on the computer one night, and I'm looking around, and I see San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office that they're hiring, and so I put in an application, kind of like as a joke. I said, let me put this in. So next thing I know, I get a phone call, and they go, "Hey, you won't be an investigator. You'd be a senior investigator based on your education and experience, and we'd like to interview you." So I went down for the oral interview. It was a three-panel board, and did my interview and everything. And they said, "Hey, well, we'll let you know in a couple of days. The assistant chiefs will make a decision if you're gonna have a chief's oral." I said, "Okay, sir. Well, thanks a lot." So kind of left, and I had just brought a brand new motorcycle. So me and my youngest son were out in Costa Mesa going to TGIFs. I remember I get a phone call. "Hey, congratulations! This is we'd like to give you another oral and Chiefs oral." So I went to that, and a couple of days later, they say, "Hey, this is a job offer pending your background and this, that, and the other." Well, the LAPD had just brought brand new uniforms, because we had got a uniform allowance and everything. So
Right.
from the time that I took that last Chiefs oral to being hired, I was out of the LAPD in a month. They just processed me that quick,
Yeah.
and so it was pretty fast. So when I first left LAPD, I was like, man, I'm taking a $26,000 pay cut. I was all panicked, but I wasn't thinking you're going to be getting your retirement from LAPD, and then plus you're coming out here to work. So everything worked out. And I didn't know that I
Right.
was going to take home car there. My supervisor here says, "Hey, I'm going to pick you up Monday." So I was thinking, well, how am I getting home if you're going to pick me up? So he was, "Hey, you pick up your car at noon." So for 12 and a half years, take home car, with no, just I'm not, it's county gas. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I see behind you. You got a couple books there, standing up behind you. Are those a couple that you wrote?
Yeah. Now I've written a book about my experience at Los Angeles Police Department, and it's called Gangsters, Narcotic Homicide, Protecting the Thin Blue Line. And this is a chronology and a biography of my career and the units I worked in, some of the significant things that occurred to me personally with the Los Angeles Police Department. So the book is all true, and it's based on everything I did there. It's based on my complaint history, getting complaints, my shootings I was involved in, some of the investigations I did working homicide. Those different things. How I met my wife. I mean, it's all in there, and so it's
That's
it's a
what's
quick
up.
read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where can we pick that up at?
Okay, so you can. My book is available at Amazon Books, Barnes and Nobles, and then Book Baby and iBooks as well.
Okay. All right.
So
So you got it in the hard. Well, that's a paperback. Is that a paperback or a
that's
hardback?
paperback. That's
Yeah.
this is a paperback behind me, and then you can get it on the Kindle or iBooks.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So give us an exclusive. Give us just a tidbit, little story out of the book.
Okay, so I'll talk about we had a homicide. So when I was working homicide, the last day of the riots, had a victim by the name of Michelle Helfer. She was a juvenile victim, and she was actually a runaway from Rancho Cucamonga. When she was hanging out in the area of 98th and Broadway in Los Angeles, and South Los Angeles, but back then we called it South Central Los Angeles. But being politically correct now, it's South Los Angeles. And so there was a dusk to dawn curfew. Uh, about 1 o'clock in the morning, people heard shots. They heard about 6 to 8 shots being fired. The next morning, but between she was located in the alley between 97th and 98th Street, just east of Broadway, and she was obviously dead there. So when we started doing the canvas to the area that day, um, the neighbors who knocked on the door. They said, "Yeah, we heard shots." And I said, "Well, this lady's dead right in front of your front yard." Says, "Well, we didn't. Shots are so frequently, we didn't pay attention to that." So a little girl is standing over behind the crime scene tape, and she looks at me. She goes, "I know where that lady lives." So she escorts me and directs me to a house on 98th Street. Knock on the door, and I talked to a female by the name of Patty Mendoza. I go, "Hey, Pat." I'll go, "Hey, I'm Detective Landrum from Los Angeles Police Department. I work homicide. Since I have a picture of an individual that I think that you may know, and I need a name." So I showed her the picture. She started crying. "Yeah, that's Michelle, and she was here last night, but I didn't see her after a certain time." Well, that particular day, while I'm talking to her, interviewing her, little unbeknown to me, I saw all three of my murder suspects that day. Two of them were looking at me in the next yard, and the third one walked up, and he was, his name is Corey Lloyd. All these guys are hooked up now; they're still in jail. But he was smoking a cigarette, and they go, "Hey, when's the last time you see Michelle? I gave her a cigarette last night at 7 o'clock. I haven't seen her." So back down on 98th Street real quick. We went down there, and so there was a lady, and her bedroom window kind of faced the alley. So she said that she had saw uh, a male black and two male Hispanics, which that was correct. But she said they were from CXL Carnalis gang. And so
Okay.
we started getting the gain information for that and started looking that up. So we saw that they had two male blacks in Carnalis. So one was living in Downey and the other one was in Kansas. So my partner and I, next you know, we're on a plane to Kansas because we were looking for the CXL tattoo to verify. So prior to leaving, going to Kansas on our investigative trip, we had a kid by the name of Greco. And it turns out, unbeknownst to us, his uncle was a Los Angeles police officer working Harbor Division, but we didn't know that at
Mm.
the time. So Greco was providing my partner information about his game. So when we flew out to Kansas to go to run that end down to see if the guy in Kansas was our suspect, Greco gets shot and killed in an unrelated drive-by shooting at 99th and Normandy in Sheriff's
Oh,
area.
oh
We
damn.
we swing over, yeah. So we go to the funeral there. We go to the interment site, and we're in a van. The uncle, who's a Los Angeles police officer, he doesn't know we're there, but he's there. So my partner and I, we're in a van, SID van, scientific investigation, taking photos. But we got shotguns, and we're just kind of sitting there. And I'm telling my partner, I go, "Hey man," I go, "I can see that Greco, he's uneasy with all these gangsters here. And he's standing next to his sister trying to support her." I said, "If these guys break out with guns, man, we're gonna have to come out these bands and take care of some business." So the guys started dispersing the funeral, started leaving, and you could see guys with guns in their waistbands. And Greco, he was cool. He didn't try anything. So we started calling in the sheriff's department because that was LA County's area, and they were taking these guys off. So there's a thing in homicide. If you don't solve your homicide in 60 days, you gotta, I call it penalty paper. You gotta write this big long report about, what you did up until that point, what are your plans for the next, 6 weeks and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So day 59, my partner, Chuck Hawley, he's on military leave. So it's just me working the case, at an office. So I get a call from a guy named Sosa, a real estate agent, and he was a former Los Angeles police explorer. And he goes, "Hey, I got this lady that lives on 98th Street. Her name is Consuelo Rodriguez, and she has a daughter, Patty Mendoza, and she knows about this murder, blah blah blah." I go, "Really?" Well, Patty Mendoza had already interviewed that, initially. She said she didn't know nothing. So I drove out to the house, knocked on the door, and I call this my Happy Meal murder because I knocked on the door and I said, "Hey, Patty." I said, "I got the information that you know about who killed Michelle." So I go, "This is how this works." I go, You can either come with me voluntarily today and give me a statement, provide me information, and come truthful, or I'm going to go get a warrant for you, and I'm gonna arrest you as a conspiracy to commit murder, or aider and abetter. So she goes, I
Mm-hmm.
gotta get my baby. So she gets a baby. We start going to the station, and she goes, my baby don't have anything to eat. So the reason I call it my Happy Meal murder, I stopped and brought her kid a Happy Meal, and Patty told me everything, the whole murder. She laid it all out. And so they were across the
Yeah.
street playing spin the bottle, and they had raped our victim, and then when they walked up to the alley, they all shot her. So anyway, we go
Wow.
out, and we by that time, uh, Shadow, which is the only black guy in the game, so they call him Shadow, of course. His name is Corey Lloyd. He's staying in Rialto off of Lilac with his girlfriend. And so I'm living in Rancho here, and I'm thinking, you know what? So I told my partner, I go, hey man, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go out to Rialto, and I hooked up with I guess back then they had a thing called SCAT, street crime attack team. So I hooked up. The sergeant name was Pearson. So I hooked up with their team of guys, and we go over to Lilac, and we hit that location. He's not there, but his girlfriend's there. Her name was Lisa Gibson. So Lisa had a baby that was from a Tongan guy, but Corey thought it was his child, but it wasn't. And so at some point, he had kind of confided in her that he had some involvement with, with the death of Michelle. So we tried to do a ruse to try to get him to come home. I said, hey, why don't you call him, tell him that the baby's sick and that you need to go to Kaiser. So I'm on the phone and I'm listening in, and she's calling him and he's telling her, hey, F you, catch the bus. But I says, hey. So I asked her, do you know where he's at? She goes, yeah. I says, hey, I says, have guns, we'll travel. We'll go to him. So we get in the car, and she gets in the car with us, and Rialto's, we're following them, and we're going northbound up Lilac. So as we get to a stop sign, I think the street was green. Coming southbound is our suspect. So I remember she points him out. We make a U-turn. We go back. Rialto kind of deploys on the car, and they take him down for me. So I remember I had a London fog rain jacket on. I remember walking up to him, and I said, "Hey, Corey," I says, "Corey Lloyd, right?" I go, "Yeah, go ahead, Detective Landrum from Los Angeles Police Department." I go, "Hey, I got some good news and some bad news for you." I said, "Hey, the good news is we know who killed Michelle Helfer." I go, "The bad news is it's you." So I remember taking him into custody, driving him back to L.A. Then we hit the
Yeah.
other place on 98th Street, and the brains of this was a 17-year-old guy. Yeah, his name's
What?
Sugar Bear Lopez. He's 17. Yeah, he was the brains of this thing because his big thing was his uncle was supposed to be from Mexican mafia, so he thought it was a machismo thing to go to jail.
Mm.
So we ended up getting him, and then we ended up getting the other guy. I went and talked to his mother, another adult. His name was Pirate. And his last name was Guzman. So I spoke to her. I said, "Hey, your son needs to turn himself in." I says, "Before I put this in the system, he can call me or call any police agency as long as he turns himself in." So probably within 2 hours, he turned himself into to Norwalk Station to the sheriff's department. So I remember interviewing him, and we had search warrants for serology, trace evidence, and everything. So we interviewing him, and when I went to the autopsy, the victim had she had first stage gonorrhea, so you can tell she had been raped. So I'm interviewing this guy, and he think he's all macho. He goes, "Yeah, Michelle wanted me, but I couldn't do anything because I had my girlfriend had burnt me." I go, "What do you mean your girlfriend burnt you?" He goes, "Well, I had gonorrhea." Boom, that was a home run. So we tried the case in Pasadena.
He got burned
Normally we
twice.
tried in Compton. We tried it in Pasadena, and it's the good old lady. I call it the good little old lady from Pasadena because I'm on the stand, and the judges and the attorneys are doing a sidebar, so they're talking, and I'm on the stand, and so Lopez looks back at me in front of the jury president and shoots me the finger. I'll never forget that. And I kind of looked at him,
Wow.
and yeah, I looked at him. I said, "Okay." So anyway, I finished my testimony, and the court, all the evidence was submitted for everything else. The coroner came out and all that stuff. And so the jury went to deliberate. It only took them a day to deliberate. They said, "Hey, we got a verdict." So I remember coming back, and they read the verdict. They were all found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, which is harder to prove than murder itself. And so first I kind of sit back in the chair, but I go, "Well, oh, that's even better, right?" And so the only reason
Mm-hmm.
they didn't do the death penalty, the only reason they didn't do the death penalty is because Lopez was a juvenile. Like I said, he was 17, but we did a minute order and got him tried as an adult. So I remember uh, all the jury's leaving and everybody, and he's walking out the courtroom. I looked at him and I go, "Hey, yeah, hang yourself." I gave
Oh,
him a, you know, and I walked out.
man.
And I was just being real because
Yeah.
that was a very violent murder. And then the second
Yes.
thing in the book, real quick, is I had another guy named Michael Hebert. He was a serial murderer. That I had that one of my victims was his victim, and we got this guy. And I remember I testified to him after I left the DA's office. So he just got the death penalty. But that was interesting. He's in the book. His picture's in the book. And that's just some of the highlights. And
How,
then I talk about,
how many
30. I was at 39th and Dalton.
how many victims did he do? You said he was a serial.
He was good for that they know of. He was good for 8. He had
Wow.
this is just before DNA hit. He had already did. My victim was number 4 in the series in South Bureau, and see couldn't connect them because we didn't have the CODIS system yet for DNA.
Mm.
So after a while back, after they started getting him in the system, that came out, and then the same MO, he had dumped 3 victims in alleys in Culver City. So he would rape all his girls, and they would die through petechia because he would snap a small bone in their neck. Because I remember when I went to the autopsy, they couldn't find anything. I'm like, there got to be something. But my victim was discovered in Will Rogers Park in off of Western in El Segundo. Well, when she was back in a secluded area in a walkway. So when we found her, she was discovered, she was half nude. But the thing was, this guy, he screwed up doing my murder because, I couldn't believe this. It was like the luck of the Irish. His ID and stuff was under her body. We couldn't believe it. I go, here's a guy right here, Michael Hughes. This guy be our suspect, and turns out that was our guy. So
Hey, he left you a
that was
calling
interesting.
card.
Yeah,
Here
yeah.
here
This
I
is
am.
there. You can
Come
find me.
get me. Yeah, come get me.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what's up, man.
yeah.
So that's all in the book. Make sure
That's
make sure
all in the
everybody
book.
go pick that up.
Yeah,
Some
and
more
I was
cool
also at
stories out
39th
there.
and Dalton too. Yeah, I was at 39th and Dalton, so that was the controversial search warrant in LAPD at these 4 residents of some gang members. So I was there for that, and I wrote in the book, my involvement and what happened there. And we had a commanding officer who had told people, "I want you to make the place uninhabitable," and we'd never forget that. And I remember meeting with our unit and said, "Hey, man," I says, "I didn't come on this job to tear people's stuff up. I came on this job to put people in jail and do the right thing." And I said, so what he's
Right.
telling you, don't do that. And then he had also told us, this is a captain of police, hey, if you guys are involved in an officer involved shooting, the department won't look at it as harshly as it would other shootings because he's a gang members. So I pulled our guys out of the gate. Go, hey man, don't believe that. You're responsible for every single round that comes from your gun.
Right.
So we had a thing called background, age, last resort knowledge, and seriousness of crime, and then idle. Immediate defense of life shooting. So you can't just shoot and think that okay, because the captain said it's cool, you're cool, because that wasn't the fact. So
That wasn't
that
it.
was a
Yep.
that was a yeah, that was a big search warrant that was very controversial that changed a lot of things, and it was interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when did the book come out? When did it come out?
Now it came out in May of let's see, just before the pandemic.
Okay.
It actually came out May 2020, so it came out during the pandemic, and so I couldn't do any book signings. I mean, I've signed a bunch of books. I have some here for people that know me and send it out. So I've sent my book all over the place. So, but
Right.
I'm gonna try
Yeah.
to hold a signing at some point. But yeah, so it's the
Yeah.
feedback has
It
been
sounds
pretty
like a.
good.
That's what I was going to ask you. I
Yeah.
was going to ask you what's the feedback from the former agency about some of those stories in the book.
Well, I did some research, and this, like I said, this book is about me, and it's all true. So anybody mentioned in there, that stuff that occurred. So when you read this book, you're not reading any fluff like, oh, he's making stories up. This is actually things that happened in my career. So what I did is I took my team's report, and so that I was able to follow when I was at a certain division, how long I was there, when I got promoted, my accommodations I got, shootings I got, complaint investigations I got. I put all that in there. I was very uh, forthcoming with the book. And then problems that I had with, like I talked about this one captain, I name him in the book because it happened, and he also he gave a statement in the L.A. Times. So I quoted that statement and referenced that, and I put that in the book because that it happened. So it's not anything.
Yeah.
I'm not slandering anybody or making, and so they know it happened. So I didn't worry about that. So initially, I was worried about trademark on the badge, and then I did some more information about that. They go, hey, well, even though it's the city of Los Angeles, that's the badge that's assigned to you. But I had them do a little bit of something different to the badge. So, well, it's a LAPD badge, but I had them do some different things to it. Like it says City of Los Angeles on the book cover. It says City of Gangsters, and and stuff like
There you
that. So
go.
it just kind of
Yeah,
switches
yeah.
up a little bit.
Yep.
And then and so the
Yeah,
so the
cause
badge number is my classmate, my class date. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, cause since doing this show, I've spoken to a bunch of LAPD people, and some are kind of wary about saying where they work when they come on the show, due to whatever retribution or they got to go through the channels or something like that. So I totally I feel you on that. I know what you're talking about there. I know what you're talking about there.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, I mean, back in the day, believe it or not, I did the Donahue show, and
Donahue.
I got asked to
So
come up.
hold up,
Yeah,
real quick
Phil
for
Donahue show.
for people out there that don't know, Phil Donahue was a talk show host. He was daytime. He wasn't even he was a daytime talk show host. So Oprah before Oprah. So
Right.
before who's the new ones out there now? Ellen DeGeneres. That's so
Yeah,
for reference, he was the Ellen DeGeneres of the early '80s and late '70s, right?
yeah, in '90s. So what happened with that is, I had a guy named Frank Cuisine says, "Hey, Mo," he goes, "Hey, I got this lady called and they want us to do the Phil Donahue show, man. I want to know if you want to come up there." So I was working Homicide at the time, so I remember taking off and they flew us up there. I took a red eye to fly to New York. I got there that morning, got dressed, got in the green room, and Donnie, he was really nice. He came in, he goes, "Hey, listen, I want to talk to you guys. I'm just going to be very open with you, and just you can tell us some things about your agency and this, that, and the other." So even back then, the show was about police abuse, and I remember we went out there, and so me, Hank, and a guy named Fritz were from the police department from LAPD, and then he had an attorney, civil rights attorney from New York, and I remember we did the show, and at some point. The attorney gave this hypothetical that kind of blew our minds. He goes, "Hey, well, we're worried about officers throwing people off a roof." That's how he said it. I go off the top of a roof. Yeah, he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I can tell you right now, sir." I go, "A Los Angeles police officer is not going to let another Los Angeles police officer throw somebody off the roof and without stopping them." I go, "That's not going to happen," you know. So, but it was very interesting. It was a pretty good show, pretty good dialogue. But one of the things I said when I went on that show is I said, "Hey, I kind of gave them like a disclosure. I go, I just want to let everybody know that the opinions voiced during this show are that of my own, not the Los Angeles Police Department." So I kind of cleared them, and then we kind of talked,
Yeah.
So
Cool.
we did that.
Yeah. And working the homicide and all the investigative stuff that you're doing now with the DA's office, it's got to be pretty gratifying when you get, closer to the victims, you make them whole, you bring the perpetrators to justice, whether it's in a homicide or real estate fraud or what have you. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that it is a good feeling. I think one of the most gratifying things we did is we arrested an attorney. That was beautiful. They had a loan modification fraud thing out here in San Bernardino County, and the attorney's name was Siringo Ringo, and this guy was a brand new
Serengo
attorney, and
Ringo.
yeah,
You can't make
that
this
was his
stuff
name.
up. Yeah, you can't make this
No,
stuff up.
yeah, so they were housed in Upland, and they were making big money. So basically, here's how the scam worked. As you know, when doing loan modifications, a lot of times people, if you couldn't pay your mortgage for 3 months, and then you would file with your banker or somebody to try to get a loan modification, and a lot of times they would do it because they would say, "Well, I can't afford to make my mortgage payments. It's been 3 months." Well, what our suspects were doing, they were telling our victims, "Hey, don't pay your rent for 3 months," and then they would get all their documentation. They would look at their banking records, and so they were just predatory. So let's say, for instance, you had $10,000 in your banking account. So when they looked at your bank record, they said, hey, we can. And the lie was that they can get you a loan mod. So they said, hey, what we can do is we can get you a loan modification, but we're going to need $8,000 from you, cash, and then we're going to need you to pay us $495 a month, and this might take about 8 or 9 months. Well, loan modifications only take 3 months. They're going to tell you yes or no within 3 months, no matter what. So these guys would drag people along, and then he had a pass-through account, the Siringo Ringo, and so he had a guy named Clausen and another guy that he was using, and they were passing this money through, and I'm talking about $900,000, $500,000 at a time, and this was going on like every month. So they were making big money doing that. So we finally caught up with Siringo Ringo. We did some work, and we found he had fraud suspects always use P.O. boxes. So he had this address in Huntington Beach, and it was a P.O. box. So we went there, and then we got his real address in Westminster. So when we rolled back to Westminster, we did our surveillance, our site survey. My guys did to get the search warrant. And so he had a black Nissan Altima parked in the driveway. And if I was him that day, I would have just burned it, set it on fire, because everything we needed to make the case was in the trunk of that car, just parked there.
Of course it was.
So, but it got better because I remember hitting that place, and so when Westminster Police Department came, their sergeant that was working their dope team used to work for me at LAPD in the gang unit, a guy named Darren Upstills. So he was a dope sergeant. So in this attorney's home, we started going through clearing it, and there was one door that was locked, the bedroom, and hey, you got a key for this? And his wife was acting real hinky. She's, well, can I leave? We're just renting the house, and that's the owner's room, and I mean, just hinky. So one of my investigators found the key. When he opened the door, it was a hydroponic grow. They were growing marijuana.
They're growing weed over there.
You can't make this up. So when we got in there, he had several plants, but it was just buds, or it wasn't enough to, even though the hydroponic grow was going, it wasn't enough to get them. And it was a big house. So I called for additional resources so that we can kind of expedite the searches and be a little meticulous. So by the time the other guys arrived out here from San Bernardino to help us, an officer went back there and he found a big old cardboard box full of dried out marijuana, and that's how we got him. So I remember walking him out in handcuffs personally to the black and white. And apparently he was an attorney out there defending kind of like the underworld clubs out there. And the sergeant that came out upstairs, one of his officers was doing an investigation, and this attorney had jammed him before. So it was kind of gratifying that he was actually putting that attorney in the car. So we got him disbarred, and he did some time. That was good.
Oh yeah, attorney needed an attorney. Yes, gratifying.
That's it.
That's what we do. That's what we do on this profession. Try to bring these people to justice, and make people whole and all that. So, yeah, good stuff.
Exactly.
Good stuff. All right, Maurice, I appreciate you coming on to the show and letting us know all the breadth and wealth of knowledge that you've had and experience you've had over the years. How much longer are you going to be doing at the DA's office?
Well, I'm going to be leaving there shortly because it's time to go. I've done my time, and I got a PI license, and I'm doing pre-employment background investigations for San Bernardino City Unified School District Police and some other agencies. So I enjoy kind of doing those kind of things, and I want to enjoy traveling and just doing what I need to do.
Yes. Gotta live life. Live that life.
That's it.
What do you like doing when you're not working though?
Well, I like I said, my number one thing is I enjoy traveling, golfing, cycling, motorcycle riding, and just and working out. So I try to keep myself busy, and then hanging out with the grandkids, and I like to do some writing.
Yeah.
So,
how many grandkids you said again? 4?
4. Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So the oldest one's 13. So they keeping us going here.
Yeah, I know. I know that.
Oh
yes. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep it up and stay strong and all that. But before I let you go, I got a little something I like to play. It's called.
Last night I saw a superhero. He was black. He said, "This is for the street. Black Lightning's back."
We call this the Black Lightning round. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw some quick fire questions at you. You just quick fire some answers back, and then we'll see a little bit more info we can get from you on this. All right. So real quick, here's your first one. Shaq or Kobe? Kobe, yeah. Now, was that your thoughts before Kobe passed away? I mean, back when the Shaq and Kobe thing was going on, you know, think back then. What was your real thoughts?
No.
Okay.
Kobe's been my guy. He's a beast. He was a beast.
Yes, he was. Yeah, rest in peace, Kobe. Can you name all the LAPD chiefs you had in your career there?
Oh, I can. I started off with Daryl Gates. That was my first chief. Then they had the interim chief. We had a guy named Pomeroy and Bayon Lewis doing the interim. Then at that point, we had Parks. He was appointed. When Parks left, then I'll take that back. Let me back up some. It was so we had Daryl Gates. Then we had Pomeroy, Bayon Lewis. They were interim. Then we got Willie Williams. So Willie Williams came on. And then Willie Williams left, and then we had Parks. And then after Parks left, then we got Bill Bratton.
All right.
So those are the folks that were there. I know about that. Yeah.
All right, cool. What's your favorite holiday?
My favorite holiday is Christmas.
Christmas. Why is that?
Christmas. Because that's we have a standing thing in our tradition in my family here, that all the kids, no matter where they're at, they all come to our house on Christmas Eve, and we get to share that time and bring the grandkids and open the gifts. So it's kind of like a big deal around here at the Landrum's residence. My wife gets all up for it, and we just have a good time.
Yeah, that's what's up. All right. So you were able to name all the LAPD chiefs. Can you name all the DAs since you've been with the DA's office?
It's only been 2. So you have Mike Ramos and you have Jason Anderson.
Oh, see,
as far as the DAs.
All right, that was easy. That was easy for you then. All right. Yes. All right. SoCal life. You've been out here all your life. So overrated, underrated, or properly rated? In-N-Out burger.
I would say it's properly rated. You know, we all go for In-N-Out burger from time to time, and you just need to get in there and get you a double, you know, and some fries.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Okay, yeah. These are all going to be icons of SoCal. What about King Taco?
You know, I haven't been to King Taco in probably a couple decades. Now I've eaten there before, but I haven't been there in a couple decades.
So what would you say? Overrated, underrated, or properly rated?
When I used to go, I think it was properly rated. It was good.
All right. And last, how about Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles?
Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. I think they're properly rated. I've been to the one at Sunset and Gower. Now they have one at Manchester off of Avalon in Southeast, and that was like deadly there because not for us LAPD, but they would have shootings there because you had Avalon Garden Crips on one side of the street on the south side, and then on the north side you had the Swan Bloods. So that was like a buffer there. So you take a chance to go in there and order you some chicken, get you some wings, but you might be circling the drain when you come out of there.
Right. Not the dining experience that you want all the time, right? Or at all.
No, not exactly. Yeah.
Or at all, yeah. All right, which would you rather take as in law enforcement? An elderly dead body at a trailer park in the middle of July, or a multi-car pileup in the pouring rain? Which would you rather take?
I'll tell you what, I've had an elderly body when it's hot. The decomp and the smell.
Yep.
But a good police officer always stays dry. So I think I would take the elderly body, because you're not staying there the whole time. You just go in and do your thing. You step outside, wait for the coroner to come in and take the body, and you're on your way.
Facts.
TC,
Facts.
You got multiple TC. It's raining and you're getting wet, and you're trying to do measurements and stuff. Yeah, that's not so much. Yeah,
for real.
Yeah.
All right. Rams or Chargers?
You know, I'd have to say Rams, um, especially now they got a new quarterback. I'm a Cowboy fan, so let me qualify that. I know
Oh
a lot
no!
of people are
All
Raider
right,
fans.
let me
I know a lot of
end
people
this
are Raider
show.
fans.
Let me end this show right now. You said Cowboys.
Hey, well, and here's the reason why. You know, I'm married, right? So
Uh-huh.
there's a R&B singer, and I know you know him, Johnny Taylor, and he made a song
Yeah.
years ago that says "Cheaper to Keep Her."
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's why I'm a Cowboy fan. Okay, so you know why I'm a Cowboy fan.
Okay. Okay. All right. I got you. So if you wasn't a cop, what would you be doing? If you had never
You
become
know
a cop?
what? It's probably hard to say. I would probably be in some type of public service. Whether it be, you know, schooling or something. I would probably do something like that. But my dream from kindergarten, and it's in a book, and it's true. I always wanted to be a police officer when I was in kindergarten.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
All
my
right.
my kindergarten teacher was Mrs. Wong, and she said, "What do you guys want to be when you grow up?" I want to be a police officer. It's because I had a great experience as a young child. My dad used to take me. We lived in Compton. He would go up to the police station because he knew all the officers up there. And I used to talk to a sergeant by the name of Sergeant Job, and he would play, "Hey, you want a junior police badge?" And so I personally had a great experience coming up as a young kid, and so that little interaction, even at the age of 4 to 5, made me want. That's what I wanted to do.
Spark that interest. All right. That's what I'm talking
Yep.
about. Can you name 5 Michael Jackson songs?
Wow, Beat It,
Yep.
Thriller,
Yep.
ABC.
Yep.
Let's see, that's 4.
That's 3.
Billie
That's 3.
Jean.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
One more.
Billie Jean. Okay.
Good thing we're not on the clock.
I know, man. I'd be sitting down here. Let me. Yeah, that's kind of like. Oh man, Man in the Mirror.
Man in the Mirror. Okay, I was going to say, you stuck on 4? Well,
There's a bunch of them, but I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. See, once you get put on the spot. All right, I'm gonna put you on the more spot. Can you do 5 Prince songs?
Oh man.
Are you a
I
Prince
like
guy?
Little Red. Yeah, well, kind of. Little Red Corvette. Purple Rain.
Yep.
I'm dating myself now because I.
Hey, that's me right there.
Yeah, let's see here.
Let's say no.
He's
Let's
just
say you can't do it.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah, Prince is my guy though. Prince is my guy. He for me is my favorite performer of all time. So, yeah. And last but certainly not least, in your professional opinion, did OJ do it?
That's good. I think he had some involvement with that case. Being from LAPD and knowing Mike Furman, who was he was a racist guy.
Yep.
And I just think that there was just a bunch of different things and how it could have been handled. So it was just a lot of things. Johnny Cochran was a great defense attorney. Yeah, Shapiro. So they had a bunch of guys there during that time, and that was interesting. I was working South Bureau then, but obviously it occurred in West Bureau. But it was interesting that because of the high profile, normally divisional homicide units wouldn't handle that. It should have been handled by robbery homicide division. I think they came on later, but they should have came on from the beginning and removed Furman out of there. And I think the end result would have been a little different.
Right. Yeah. All right.
That's what I think.
All right. Yeah. All right. So we're going to say yes. Check that yes box.
That's it.
OJ. Yep. OJ did. We all know he did.
Yeah.
All right, my man. I appreciate you coming on and espousing that knowledge again. Dropping it. You got a wealth of knowledge and experience, and we're going to make sure everyone picks up that book and get some good stories. You told us a little bit of it, gave us a preview, so sounds like an interesting read. Everybody make sure you pick that up on Amazon, all the books, book places, iBooks, all that. So I appreciate you. Thank you
appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, and you be safe out there.
All right, thank you. You do the same.
You got it, brother. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for this episode of the Black and Blue Podcast. I want to thank my man Maurice Landrum, Supervisory Investigator for the San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office, for stopping by and blessing us with some of his knowledge and experiences while working as an LAPD homicide detective and now as a DA's investigator. Be sure to check out his book, Gangsters, Narcotics, Homicide, Protecting the Thin Blue Line, wherever books and ebooks are sold. If you guys out there enjoyed this episode, be sure to give the show a like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, or rate it 5 stars on your favorite podcast platform. I'll be back in a couple weeks with another amazing law enforcement guest. Same black time, same black channel, but till then, y'all already know this by now, but stay black in blue. I'll holler at you. Deuces.
This has been a Maitre D' Entertainment presentation.